Hello, everybody, and welcome back to AnimeQuest. Today, we're going to be talking about the 21st volume of Familiar of Zero. If you were not aware, the 21st and 22nd volumes of The Familiar of Zero will be concluding the story of Noboru Yamaguchi's light novel series, Zero no Sakaima, or The Familiar of Zero by the same name. And the writers are not being made public, but the artist is the same who had been working on the light novel, the whole time, same artist. Uh, it dropped in February 25th, and the Familiar of Zero light novel, 21st volume, did exceptionally well. Now, that's not really what I'm here to talk about. What I am here to talk about, however, is basically the fact that these are even being made in the first place. I know as a writer myself that if I had done a long running series, like Kentaro Miura's Berserk, for example, that I would want the series to be able to get properly finished, in the event that something happened to me. And what happened to Noboru Yamaguchi, he died of cancer. That's a tragedy. It's absolutely awful. I'm somebody who personally loves Familiar Zero. I got all the Blu-rays released from Sentai Filmworks for the anime series, and I'm going to be buying these new volumes as well. This is sad, and it's sad, but at least we're getting a proper conclusion to his series, because that's something that, as a writer and a fan of storytelling in general, that I have always been afraid of. For example, Berserk. What if something happened to Kentaro Miura and he was never able to finish Berserk? It'd kind of just be like, damn, this series we've been holding on to and reading for almost a little over 20 years now, I think, in Berserk's case, we can't finish it. It's impossible because it will never happen. How awful would that be? And like I said, as a writer myself, personally, I don't think I'd ever work on something long running. Like, I kind of want to just do a novel and be done with it. But, except for I do have some plans with a friend to start doing some comics, but I don't take those as seriously, because those are more about, having the reader enjoy it as apart from me enjoying writing it. And the difference is, it's crazy because this whole situation, and I'm glad to see the 21st volume, and 22nd volumes still being made and finishing off the series. They have not made the writer's name public, the person who's taking his ideas and concepts and continuing with them. He hasn't. They haven't made that public, which Katakawa hasn't. Which, in all honesty, I think they should, because I realize that I realize that it's still Noboru Yamaguchi's story at the end of the day, and I think that's what they're trying to honor. But at the same time, the writer who's adapting and finishing it, with these last two volumes, is still doing something fairly important in of itself, which is successfully adapting it. I think the work should still stand on its own. Like I said, this is coming from a fellow writer. So regardless, of it being done by a new writer, and, because I feel like we're all looking at the subject of somebody dying, and making it seem better than it is, because in weird ways, The Familiar Zero, it's not necessarily something you could say is a masterpiece or a work of art. It is art in the sense that it is created by, creative individuals, who are both authors and artists, respectively, in creating artwork through the means of drawing it and artwork through the means of writing it and telling it. And in that sense, it is art, but not in the sense that it's trying to tell some sort of grand message or that it's superbly written, because it's just something that, is enjoyed, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. But my biggest thing with this, and the thing that the situation of the 21st volumes and 22nd volumes still being created makes me incredibly happy because, it's kind of something that is owed to us because an author has invested the time and given us, admittedly good memories with the series, even if it hadn't been finished. But I feel like we're still kind of owed an ending. So I feel like every writer and every author who's creating a series like this should have, something on the back in the back burner. Like Noburu Yamaguchi's editors and publishers said, he left plots for the last two volumes for the publishers, and they finally decided to continue the series on with a different writer, and they did that because that's basically what Noburu Yamaguchi wanted, just in case. He must have known his time was up, that his time was coming to an end, and like I said, once again, I know I've said this and I'd beat this to death. As a writer, personally, myself, I would totally want to be able to make sure that my work is in good hands and that my work can get finished even after death. That would literally be one of the most important things, right behind, spending time with family and just trying to enjoy the rest of my life, what little left there was. And this was incredibly sad, but it, at the same time, is incredibly good news. It's a weird little medium, and I never got to talk about this because honestly, I didn't know that it even happened. Uh, I was a fan of Familiar of Zero back when it did happen, so it was crazy when I finally went to go read up on the series and learn more about it, that I found out its creator was already dead, and that was heartbreaking, just utterly heartbreaking. And I never got to make a video about Monty and Satoshi Kon's passing was before my time of on YouTube, so I guess I want to just give shout outs to them too. It's incredibly sad to see a creator, such a creative mind die at a young age and, not get to live out and, continue doing what they love, which is creating stories and engaging an audience's reaction. Criticism can be a harsh thing, but it's also something very fun from a writer's perspective. I don't get a lot of comments on anything I create, but the few times that I do, it's an interesting and fun experience, whether the criticism is, nice and toned down, whether people are praising you or whether the criticism's mean. Some people can handle it, some people can't. But anyways, it's just sad. But I'm glad to see that they're still making the 21st and 22nd volumes and giving the story that I personally really enjoyed a proper conclusion. And that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys on the next Quest for Anime.